Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Safe Zone podcast. I am Brittney. I'm a mental health guidance specialist. I've been within the mental health field for about 8 years now. Why did I create this podcast? Aside from a lot of clients and people being behind me telling me you should do a podcast, I also think that there are just a lot of tools and things that are out there that aren't given to us. A lot of information about ourselves, about other people, about life, about mental health, etc. So every episode is meant to give a little tool to add to your toolkit to help you go through whatever your journey is, to help you do the work, to help you process whatever you need to process. So today we are doing episode 2. What is episode 2? Non-negotiable physical activity. Why did I choose physical activity? One, it's been coming up in client meetings, in conversations, personal conversations with friends, family, etc. Physical activity is something that I cannot help but recommend enough. So just because it's been coming up in so many lives, I assume that collectively that means that it's a message that needs to be sent out. 2, I myself have experienced, I fell off the bandwagon of physical activity coming out the end of last year. And I felt the effects immediately. I noticed in so many parts of my life how different I was operating compared to when I was committed to physical activity. And then as soon as I jumped back on the bandwagon, I immediately saw the benefits and I immediately saw how that physical activity resonated in my life. And lastly, I think there's a lot of research being done on physical activity related to mental health, more than ever before. I think for a long time, we all knew that there are lots of physical benefits, lower blood pressure, yada, 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 all those physical benefits that come with physical activity. But only within recent times are we really paying attention to how, in my perspective, physical activity is so much more a mental health thing than a physical health. I feel like physical health are just like byproducts of it, but one of the main sets of benefits come with how better our mental health functions. So what are you going to expect within this episode? 3 things. We're going to cover some myths, some things that I believe we assume about physical activity that may limit our perspective, may limit our approach, may limit our applicability of physical activity, how easy it is for us to bring it into our life. We're also going to cover as much mental health benefits that I could have gotten down, as much mental health benefits that I know and that I know from research. We're going to go through all those mental health benefits. What are these benefits that Brittney keeps talking about? And of course, as usual, I always want to give you all tips. So at the end, I'm going to give you all 3 tips to incorporate and increase the amount of physical activity that you all are doing or are now about to start doing, given this convincing podcast episode. At the end, I'm going to share some recommended home assignments and journal prompts for you to do your own work between these episodes. And we'll end off with a nice little peaceful moment at the end. If you know episode 1, you know how it goes. Anyway, we're going to start now. Okay, so first off, number 1, myths. Things that we believe about physical activity that I think limit our willingness to engage in physical activity. Number 1, a lot of us think that physical activity has to be high intensity, like I hit something. You don't need to be huffing and puffing. You don't need to be burning everywhere. You don't need to be sweating profusely for you to be able to tick the physical health or physical activity box. There are lots and lots of options. For example, there are a lot of mindful, passive, or active activities, yoga, tai chi, just stretching, just movement, mobility stuff that you don't even break a sweat doing. Of course, when I say yoga, I say that with an asterisk because, of course, there are a lot of yoga practices that are a lot more intense, but there are lots of yin restorative style yogas as well. There's physical activities that can happen outdoors as well as indoors. You can, of course, I always push everybody to go outdoors, but if you're not an outdoorsy person, you don't want the sun, you don't want the heat, etc., you can do a lot of physical activity indoors, in your bedroom, on your living room floor. There are different physical activities that operate on land as well as water. If you're someone that does not like a lot of land activity, then try something more water-based. Just swimming, just floating, just moving. Of course, aerobic exercises, etc. There's also weights. So whether it's body weight exercises or weights, so gym weights or whatever. And of course, there's sports. Just playing a game of football ticks the box of physical activity, of course. Playing any other, what is another type of sport I can think of? Tennis. What's another sport? Running. You'll get the gist. Yeah. So first myth, I think that people think that physical activity has to be high intensity, and that is not true. Number two, people think that I have to be physically active every day of the week, and if you're any form of an adult with a life, that seems very impossible. Beautiful for those that are able to do that. Love that for y'all. Love that for y'all, and ignore me. Just don't study me or continue and sleep. However, majority of us cannot afford in our time throughout our week and work and rest schedule to work out all the time or to be physically active all the time. My perspective, I think 3 days a week, maybe a nice little gauge. 2 to 3 days a session. If you're starting off doing nothing, I think just like a once, twice a week. Let's start with that. We get into this conversation a little later on at the end there to tips. But yeah, you don't have to work out every day. You don't have to be physically active every single day of the week. You also do not have to do an hour-long workout every single time. If you cannot afford an hour-long or a 2 hour long, when you can, beautiful, do it, live your best. But if you realize your week is passing by and you are not getting that hour to hour and a half, please do not underestimate the benefit of a 10 minutes, of a 15 minutes, of a 5 minutes, of some short time that your body is still going to thank you. There is no workout that when we finish, we go, oh, damn it, I wish I never did that workout. No, even if it's a small thing. You can't do a whole gym session, jump in the gym, do something small. You can't do a whole yoga class, put on a 10 minutes or 5 minutes, something, move your body, stretch your body, tick that box. Another myth, that physical activity has to be expensive. Now, there are lots of physical activity that have a price attached to it. Some low range and some high range prices. However, it costs you nothing to take a walk around your house. I mean, it'll cost you a little gas and things to go to the beach and take a swim. Fair. It costs you nothing while you are chilling on an evening to roll out. You don't even have a yoga mat. Put out a towel. Give me another excuse. Let me conquer it. Give me another excuse. You don't have a yoga mat. Put out a towel. Do some stretches. Do some movements. Physical activity, if based on your budget you cannot afford certain types of activity, please do not use that as an excuse to not engage in anything. There is something to do. There are many places, for example, in Trinidad, of course I'm giving it in this context, that you can do an outdoor walk and nobody takes a price. You don't even have to pay for parking. Get out, take a little walk up a hill, do a little movement. There isn't always a cost attached to it. People always think physical activity is going to feel fantastic, and I'm here to tell you it is not going to feel fantastic all the time. I'm sure there are a lot of people that can relate to that now start back gym week, how that feels. Yeah, those muscles feel lovely. Or when you now start back moving your body. Firstly, that first week is not how every week is going to feel, and also depending on your diet and being able to replace the protein that your muscles need is going to be a factor. Making sure you're drinking enough water is going to be a factor on soreness. Conversation for another time. But yeah, physical activity isn't always going to be enjoyable, but it's a good discomfort, pun intended, for episode 1. If you bank on having motivation all the time, and you think that motivation is a necessary ingredient for physical activity, you're done, set yourself up. You're done, set yourself up. I have done those moments where I go to gym and I reach to the car park and I'm like, so Brittney, how much motivation are you working with today? What's the percent? And there are times I'm like, yeah, a solid 7%. If you bank on motivation to be physically active and tick that box, it's not going to happen. Motivation is like an emotion that comes and goes, and it's based on other factors around you. So please do not depend on motivation. You're not going to be motivated all the time. There are times that you are going to be, and that's going to be lovely. But there are times that the motivation only kicks in the middle of the task or at the end of it when you feel accomplished for actually doing it. Discipline and commitment over motivation. Last myth and limiting assumption. that you have to stay consistent to be successful. Now, I know that sounds very contradictory because, like, of course, consistency breeds this. But here my perspective. If you think that that from the moment you fall off the bandwagon, let's say you've been going solid for like months, you've been going solid, you've been making your 3 sessions a week, and then something happens in your life. You have to travel, you get sick, somebody passes away, some financial issues, somebody needs your help, you have family in the country, all these different things that come up that create those pauses in our regular routine. And then all of a sudden you go, wow, I missed a whole month of gym. That's it. Progress gone. It's gone. That's it. Just, I'm even going to bother. No, don't even. Any form of a healthy habit, you cannot expect yourself to be 100% all the time. People always think growth and progression goes like this on a curve, like a line going up like that. However, it kind of goes more like this, like little twirls. So we have really great moments, and then we have a couple of setbacks, but then we get back in it and we go again. And then we have a couple of setbacks and we get back in it and we go again. We don't go all the way back from the beginning, not at all. And even if you do, so what? Life is about starting over many times over. The more you get accustomed to that reality, that we are going to have to start over in many different ways, in career, relationship, habits, lifestyles, everything, over and over and over, and get more comfortable with that flexibility of things pop up, I step away, but okay, I'm ready to start again. Yeah? Okay, so those are all the myths. Things that, as I said, I believe limit people's willingness to try physical activity or their self-belief in their ability to be physically active. Now we're going to move on to mental health benefits. So I'm going to give you lots and lots of benefits behind why physical activity is good for our mental health. We all know physical benefits. If you want to learn physical benefits, please do your own research. We are not here to talk about those today. We are here to talk about mental health benefits. Firstly, physical activity increases your self-esteem. Who knew that? Physical activity has been research proven to increase your self-esteem. It does it by many ways. I'll talk about 3 main ways. 1, body esteem is a big factor. Regardless whether you want to say whatever, I don't care about how I look and you've gotten past that and fantastic and all of that beautiful. Body esteem has a big factor to play in self-esteem, especially in women, but I would also say in men as well. But we also know body esteem is a lot more of a influencer to self-esteem for females, right? Taking care of yourself, and we are not talking about when you reach your goals, your body goals or whatever. Just knowing that you have done something to tend to your muscles, to your body, to your movement. You start to see a little muscle, a little something, a little tightness, whatever comes about in your physical activity journey. It increases your body esteem, so that's one factor that plays into that. 2, when you actually see yourself as important enough to prioritize and you actually take care of yourself, we begin to value ourselves more. Who knew? Yeah? So just the mere fact that physical activity is a practice of self-care is going to increase your self-esteem. You're going to be like, okay, I actually care about myself enough to take care of myself. And it increases your mood. And our mood influences how we see things. And of course, it's going to influence how we see ourselves, right? So going specific into mood now. Second mental health benefit, that's a big factor. I have a couple ones that come from it. Emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is increased when we're physically active. Number 1, it increases your window of tolerance. I mentioned this in last episode, I'll mention it again. Our window of tolerance is our tolerance for triggers, emotions, all of those things. There's some people that have a very narrow window of tolerance. It does not take much to trip them off, to get them into fight or flight. And it also doesn't take much disappointment, sadness, nothingness, failure to get them into a depression, into a free state, etc. Panic attack, or, like as I said, depression or sadness. Those dark days. When we are able to bring our mind away from thinking about everything in the past, in the future, in whatever, and we're able to just bring it into this moment that we're actually in, it increases our window of tolerance. Nothing quiets your mind more than physical activity. There are a few other things, okay, but I'm just trying to prove a point. When you are physically active, when you're challenging your body, your mind is very much in your body. It's focusing on breathing, it's focusing on walking, it's focusing on lifting, it's focusing on running. You get those pauses from the problem solving, you get the pauses away from the emotions, you get the pauses away from the negative thoughts. When you increase your tolerance, again, it takes a lot more to get a reaction out of you, for stress to get a reaction. So you decrease your reactivity. You're able to manage a lot more triggers and respond the way that you want to respond, not from the moment a trigger happens, you run with it. It increases your mood, which we mentioned already. It increases a lot of endorphins, which we relate to happy hormones that make us feel happy, that increase our mood, that maintain a good mood, but also the hormones that allow us to manage stress and handle stress. I don't want to name a bunch of hormones right now to confuse you or whatever, but again, if you want to look into that research as to what are the endorphins that are released during physical activity, that'll be a good little independent research for you. Emotional intelligence is increased with physical activity also because it's a key release. It's a good outlet. You need outlets. If you have stress going on, if you have a lot of aggression, you have a lot of sadness, it don't matter what the emotion is, you need a release. Emotions do not walk out of our body. So through physical activity, we get the grunts, the pushing. We get sweat, which is also a way that our body releases that energy and emotions. You breathe a lot, another way that we release emotions and energy, and you also get to move your body. Our body responds a lot to emotion. You get clenched, you shake, you have jitters, you hold tension. There's a lot that goes in from the body to emotions. And if we don't have those outlets to help work that out of our body, then we get very stiff moods, etc. There are a lot of research behind the effect of physical activity on depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. A lot of decrease. Good research, of course. Anything else I'm missing on this point? I don't think so. Oh, and lastly, it decreases the production of the stress hormone, cortisol, right? So all of those factors, again, tie back into physical activity. Does goodness for our emotional intelligence, makes us less reactive, gives us better moods, and helps us have an outlet. Another benefit, brain health. You are able to handle a lot more stress. You are able to increase your memory. There's a lot more blood flow, more oxygen produced, and more energy for your brain to do what it needs to do. A lot better executive functioning, which are those decision making, those judgment stuff that happen in that prefrontal cortex. And you're able to do a lot more of those like fine motor skills, etc., etc. So lots and lots of brain health benefits. Last three, not too much detail as the first three. So last three, increase in sleep and increase in your quality of sleep. Many of us have lots and lots of mental health challenges because we have poor sleep. If our body is sleep deprived, there is a barrage of negative impacts. When we're physically active, we get our body into a healthier circadian rhythm. We also help tire out our body during the day so that we're able to rest and recuperate. We have a little bit more, I don't want to use the word exhaustion, but we help tire out our body because a lot of us, especially in this society, a lot of our jobs are brain stuff. So even though you're sitting still, very sedentary throughout your day, your brain is going. So when you're mentally exhausted and tired, your body is like, I have the world of energy. You ready to sleep? I'm ready to pump. So it helps balance off and get us tired and help us sleep. So again, there's so much benefits on sleep, but that's for another episode. Physical activity is a good, healthy coping mechanism. There are unhealthy coping mechanisms and there are healthy coping mechanisms. We are not talking about nutrition. Unhealthy coping mechanisms, anything that we do that numbs us, distracts us, Nothing about what we're doing is helping us solve the problem, understand the problem, or pour into ourselves to show up better for the problem. Healthy coping mechanisms are things that help us approach the problem, help us solve the problem, understand it, see it differently, or at least pour into ourselves so that we can show up better for the problem. This is a healthy coping mechanism. Physical activity is a healthy coping mechanism. A big thing relates to all those points connected to emotional intelligence, it being a release, it being a pause in all the mental chatter, a mood regulator, etc. It decreases substance abuse, another research-based finding, right? So it decreases your dependence on substance abuse being an unhealthy coping mechanism, right? So that relates to this point. And last point, I put an asterisk next to it, but I still thought it was valuable to bring up. It increases our social interactions. It helps us interact with people more based on the situation. So whether we're going to gym, we're going to a sport, we're doing it in the company of somebody, or we're just doing it by ourselves outdoors, you are going to pass people, you are going to greet people, you're going to be around people, seeing people, interacting with people. And as much as some of us are like, ew, I do not like people, we need to interact with people. We are human, we are social animals, we thrive in connection. I've said that before and I'll say it again. So any little pocket that we have to interact with another human is healthy. Yes? Okay, so that's all the mental health benefits. We're going to end off now with some tips in incorporating more physical activity into your life. First tip, start small. This is for people who have not been physically active for a long time, or are now starting back, or have only ever started biting off more than they can chew. So first, as I said earlier in this episode, you do not need to work out every single day. If you could and you want to, by all means, live your best. You will reap so many benefits. But if you are now starting off, you cannot go from doing nothing to doing a big, long regime. You have a high chance of jumping off of it, right? Or becoming overwhelmed by it, because now you have completely added on a huge chunk onto your routine that you have to balance with everything else that you're doing. So you're trying to make it more sustainable, right? So I say aim for, if you want to start off with, I am going to start with once a week. If I do that once a week straight for a month, then maybe I would add a second one on. Maintain that for a period of time, and maybe a third one on. I think the ideal amount of sessions a week you should aim for is like 3 sessions a week, right? Again, remembering that there are many different versions of this. So that 3 sessions could mean 2 gym sessions and 1 stretching session, 2 gym sessions and a swim session, 1 football game, 1 run, and 1 walk, right? Many different things that you can throw in today. There is a lot of research behind the ideal time for young people, for youths, for teenagers, for adults, and for elderly people, how much physical activity and what type of physical activity they should do. I'm just going to give the information for adults. For adults, the ideal amount of time that we should spend a week being physically active is 150 minutes, which translates to 3 30-minute sessions. If you do not think you are valuable and important enough for 3 30-minute sessions, we need some talking to do. We have some talking to do, right? So 150 minutes a week, and aside from frequency, you don't have to do a long session. The ideal, yes, is 150 sessions, 150 minutes a week. But if all you could afford for this week was a 10 minutes on Monday night and a 50 minutes on Friday, beautiful. Love that for you, right? Let's be realistic. Please do not assume that if I cannot create a huge chunk and a huge space into my routine, then that means I have to step away and I can't do it. 5 minutes makes a difference. 5 minutes of skipping, a 10-minute walk, a quick walk outside, a quick walk upstairs, a couple stairs going up. Any drops in the bucket makes a difference. So that's my first step. Start small for sustainability. 2, diversify or find your favorite. Diversify meaning, if you like to walk, walk, swim, and skip. If you are someone that only likes walking, then just walk. If that's your comfort zone and you prefer to do that, and that's what you enjoy and everything else you don't enjoy, then do that. Either diversify your physical activity or find your favorite. If you haven't found a physical activity that you thoroughly enjoy, keep trying out new things. If you try out something and you realize you don't like it, that's valuable information. That is not wasted time. Move on to another opportunity, move on to another chance. Talk to somebody, see what they recommend, see what they do, jump in for a session, test it out. If it's not your vibe, move on to something else. So, tip 1, start small. Tip 2, diversify or find your favorite. Third tip, sugarcoat. You don't like walking? Listen to your favorite music. You don't like walking alone? Grab a friend. You don't like running? Go and find a show that you can listen to your earphones on while you are doing your walk and run. Sugarcoat it, make it easier. Play your favorite tunes. Play your favorite movie at the same time. Walk with your favorite person. Go out and treat yourself after, grab a coffee. Do something that helps incentivize and make that experience a little bit more enjoyable for you, just to sugarcoat yourself. Yes? So start small, diversify, and find your favorite activity and sugarcoat. Add some incentives, add some enjoyable factor onto the workout. Don't go and work out and you're working out in silence and you're done tortured. Put on some music, put on a movie, live your best, do some stretching while you're watching a Netflix show. Kind of combine those things. Yeah? Okay. Now we're going to close off because that's it. That's it for this episode. We're going to close off first with listing 3 things you're grateful for. Any 3 things you can think of at all. My 3 things: I am grateful for this camera that is blinking right now but hasn't closed off on a dead battery as yet. I am grateful for clean water to drink. And I am grateful for you, whoever you are that's listening there. I'm very grateful to spend this time with you. Yeah? And for those that would like to have a little mindful moment before we close off, a little mini meditation, if you have the time and safe space to do it, let's do that. If not, you can pause this and come back to it whenever you would like to. For those that would like, settle into a seat or lie down, get as comfortable as you can. Allow your eyes to close down. For those that do not feel comfortable closing their eyes, you can let your eyes just take a very slight gaze over your nose. Very lazy gaze. Bring your awareness into your body, noticing your heart rate, noticing your breathing rate. Are there any tension in your hands or your feet? Allow your shoulders to drop away from your ears. Bring your attention to the muscles of your face. Release your cheeks, release your eyebrows. Allow your bottom jaw to fall away from your top jaw and your tongue rest in that bottom jaw with the tip of that tongue touching the back of your teeth. We're going to do a short breathing exercise, about 3 rounds of this breathing exercise. This is called 4, 7, 8. We're going to inhale for 4 seconds, hold that inhale for 7 seconds, and exhale for 8 seconds. It's going to be a long hold and a long exhale, but you're very able and capable. Do not let the mind get you panicked. Our inhale and exhale is going to go through our nose, and ensure that when you inhale, you are inflating your belly nice and big. And when you exhale, you are deflating that belly and bringing your belly button into your spine. So again, settle wherever you are. Notice if you have gained any more tension in your shoulders, in your jaw, in your face, and release them again. Exhale wherever you are. Deep inhale into your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through your nose for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 7. And exhale for 8. Return to normal breathing, noticing any difference that happened during that breathing exercise. Whenever you are ready, flutter your eyes open. Thank you so much for enjoying this podcast with me. I hope you learned something. I would attach those journal prompts and those home assignments now. So these are things that I recommend that you'll work on during the time that happens between episodes. These episodes come out once a month, every month, on the 11th at 11:11 training time. And a gentle reminder that this episode is released on Spotify as well as YouTube. If you want to join on YouTube, just see the video. Thank you so much for joining this podcast. It was lovely sharing time and space with you all. I look forward to seeing you all soon again, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Bye, everyone.